We frequently get students who tell me, look, I've been studying this stuff my whole life. I'm really into finance and I'm super fascinated by it. And so those types of students are great because we can sort of say, look, you know what you know from reading and learning and maybe investing, but let me teach you the details, the quantitative aspects of it. We have lots of other students who say, I think finance is cool, but I don't know a thing about it. Those students do really well too.
I think the number one thing about finance is someone who's okay with kind of problem solving and discovering things and being okay with the fact that there's no correct answer. Finance is not really a black and white field. It's not like you're gonna wake up and be like, oh, this is what we need to do. It's kind of like you need to be able to experiment. You need to be okay with trying things and then failing. Additionally, you need to pay attention to a lot of details. So you need to be someone who's kind of nitpicky. It's not necessarily mathematics, but it's a number heavy. So if you enjoy working with numbers, I'd say that's for you.
In the early classes in particular, we spend a lot of time talking about careers in finance and potential types of jobs that students might get. So it may be that student is thinking, oh, I'm interested in finance, but I'm not an expert in the markets, and worrying that they might be behind. That's not true at all. And oftentimes what we see is students will think they're interested in one aspect, and because the courses initially are so broad-based, they'll realize, oh, I'm super interested in this other aspect that I didn't know anything about.
Corporate finance is looking at more corporations, what people like CFOs do, looking at financial statements, breaking down how to make a company profitable, how to make sure that companies are running smoothly in terms of their finances, which is what most people know as finance. Investments, on the other hand, is what bankers do, asset managers do, people who manage money in the world, people who decide where money goes in terms of pension funds, when people are saving. It's kind of the grand scheme of finance.
There's a company, you think about Apple. Apple has to deal with corporate finance. They have to deal with budgeting and mergers and acquisitions and trying to figure out how to pay for everything that they're doing. They have to think about how to deal with the accounting and understanding that. And then you've got companies that are interested in investing in Apple and individuals who want to invest in Apple, and that's the investment side. So you can imagine a portfolio manager, somebody's running a mutual fund and he says, hey, Apple looks like a good stock. We'll focus on that aspect of it from the investment side, both the analysis in terms of trying to understand why is Apple a good stock, how do I value it, as well as the qualitative aspects.
My first co-op was at GMO. It's based in Boston. It's an asset manager. I learned so much. I got to sit with different groups, functional groups, and I really liked the field. And then my second co-op, I decided since I liked asset management so much, I should try investment banking. And I went to New York to Scotiabank, and I was working there for 6 months. And it was a tough world. It was definitely completely different.
These students worked at companies where they had to figure out stuff on their own. They didn't have always a guideline. They didn't have a template or a spreadsheet.
You take people's experiences that you've learned from, you take what you learn in class and apply it to your co-op and vice versa. I took a credit analysis class, and in there we did a group project in which people were learning from each other from co-ops. It's one of those interesting things because what you think you've learned on co-op can easily be changed by someone else's co-op experience because they were in a different circumstance. So we all bring this kind of unique knowledge that even the professor doesn't have, and the professor learns from us, we learn from the professor. It's such an exciting environment because it's a way for us to all bridge our education on co-op in the classroom. You'll be with lots of students discovering the art of finance.